Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm Oralena Valero, the host of the program, and as always, so glad you've joined us today. Today we're going to be speaking on family issues, and with me to do this is a very new friend that we've just met in the community, Michael W. Smith, and he is a Christian counselor with House of Healing. And I am so happy he's going to join us to speak on depression and anxiety. And the second segment, we're going to talk about marital discord. So I know you're going to want to stay tuned because he is literally a counselor for many years. And I'm going to have him explain a little bit about who he is and what he does. And welcome, Michael. So happy to have you with us.
My pleasure.
And I'm so glad that I met you because I believe you're going to bring a lot of good information to our viewing audience.
I hope so.
And I'm sure you will. But before we get started, let them know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Michael W. Smith. I'm a professional counselor. I've been counseling for 29 years now. Wow. And for 25 of those years, I had my own company in Maricopa County. And I've had a wide range of counseling experiences, but in 2005, I retired from my counseling practice and laid off my employees. And then I opened up another counseling center, which is a nonprofit organization where we specialize in providing counseling services to people who are impoverished or having financial difficulties, and they need to see a professional counselor, but they don't have the insurance benefits or the money to provide or procure those services. So what we do is provide those services for free to people that can't afford them. And I'm at the House of Healing on 11th Street, just south of Indian School Road. Oh. And I see a wide range of clients. People come in with marital problems, addictions, clinical depression. Many people come in with diagnosed mental illnesses, such as bipolar, obsessive compulsive disorder. We do some work with schizophrenia and so on. And most of these people are either on...
That needs a deliverance, doesn't it?
Yes, we do. We also provide those services as well, in addition to the counseling services. Mm-hmm. But most of the people that come to see us, many of them are on Social Security or on some type of government subsistence, and they don't have a lot of extra money, and they need a helping hand, and that's the purpose of the program. We provide assistance to people that, need help and can't afford it.
Wow, well, that is wonderful. Also, don't you have a healing ministry where you actually hold services?
Yes, every Sunday night at 6 o'clock we have teaching services.
Every Sunday night?
Yes, we have teaching services. And many of our clients attend those services that come in for counseling. Also at 4:30 every Sunday night we have what we call a healing room, where we have people come in from all over the valley to come in for prayer and spiritual development.
Wonderful.
Part of our counseling practice also includes developing the person spiritually, because for example, in Maricopa County, if under the Access program, the poor people that receive services under that program also have services provided to develop them spiritually. Mm-hmm. The spirituality part of their recovery from mental illness is very important. You have to combine the two. If you just use counseling and therapy and medication, that's not a complete method of treatment. They also have to have a...
Well, we are spiritual beings, aren't we?
Yes,
and we have a
very
flesh
important.
and spirit, and we need to feed that as well and understand more about who we are and what makes us tick, that makes us act like we do sometimes.
Correct.
Huh?
Correct.
Wow, well, that is wonderful. Thank you for what you do and for reaching out and helping people. I'm sure you get blessed back in many ways than you can probably even imagine, huh?
The principal blessing is watching someone improve and recover.
Wow.
That's the most enjoyable aspect of my work. It's hard work.
That's great.
And it requires a lot of patience, but seeing someone recover and improve is my payment.
Wow, that is great. Well, I'm so excited you're here so we can talk today about depression and anxiety. And truly, with the stress that people are under today and the economy, the way it's going, so many people seem to be stressed out, seem to be depressed, seem to be oppressed. And what do you have to say about that, Michael?
Well, as you know, in the United States, the #1 illness in America, ahead of cancer and heart disease, is depression.
Wow.
That's the #1 sickness in America. 3 of the top 10 disabling conditions in the United States are mental conditions.
My goodness.
On people that are on total disability all over the country. 3 of the top 10 are mental illnesses. And in particular, nowadays, because of the economy the way it is, I'm seeing an acceleration of referrals because of people suffering from severe depression. And the fastest growing area of mental illness in the United States are anxiety disorders, fears, phobias, general anxiety disorders.
Literally fear, huh? Because people don't know about tomorrow, kind of like the Bible has said.
Yes.
In a way that, you know.
Correct.
fear
There's an
will
uncertainty there. There's an unsettling in our society, particularly here in Maricopa County. In Arizona, we've been one of the hardest hit counties in the entire country for unemployment and layoffs.
Yeah, and our state is probably at the very bottom of the poll there, you know, with problems. We are really overwhelmed with all kinds of situations economically. And I know that our governor's trying to help fix some things, but we're in a mess here.
Very much so.
So why do you think people are so depressed?
It's usually a combination of factors. The main one is unsettled trauma. People run into situations such as layoffs, sicknesses, unexpected death in the family, unexpected bills, severe financial trauma, and those kind of things kind of trickle down through the person's emotions and into their soul, and that's what triggers the sense of fear, anxiety, hopelessness. And many times people have come in, they just need, a lot of the patients just need somebody to talk to.
And to give them a reassurance, maybe, even though
Sure.
I guess, you know, the only reassurance you can give them is that, you know, they can make it, and then they need to hope in the higher source, which is God, and
Correct.
trust in Him, correct?
Correct, and that's part of the spiritual development of the patients when they come in for counseling. We also include that in their treatment program.
So do you see a lot of more mental cases because of the body, like having a problem like with the hormone imbalance or whatever might be the problem? Their brain, you know, isn't functioning properly because of an imbalance in the body, or?
Generally speaking, no. Now, anxiety disorders are not normally genetically or chemically based. That's normally caused by a environmental stressor and pressure in the person's life, you know, a downturn. That's usually not related to chemical imbalances. There are some mental illnesses that can be related to genetics and chemical imbalances. For example, we talked about schizophrenia or severe bipolar conditions. Those type of conditions can be related to biology or chemical imbalances. But generally speaking, it's unusual stressors in the person's life where the system kind of starts to fall apart and the person kind of emotionally starts to fall apart with it. And if that persists over a protracted period of time, the person can develop a documented mental illness. If you don't catch it early enough, the thing exacerbates and it gets worse.
Wow. So how would you take somebody and work with them? What would you tell them? Maybe somebody's watching and they really are suffering from depression, or they're just really, you know, full of anxiety and fear, like you said. How would you, what would you do? How would you work with them?
The first thing we do is you have to establish a level of trust and a kind of a bond between the individual. And you do that by giving them the understanding that you are not in a situation where you're judging them for anything, nor are you condemning them for anything. You are receiving them
Just like they
as
are.
a friend in a way, as if God would receive them, the way He looks at people, see? And that's what I learned from Him. He looks at people
And he
without
doesn't judge
condemnation,
them.
without judgment. And
Yes.
so that's what I do as a counselor. When someone comes in my office, no matter what they've done, I do a lot of counseling with ex-convicts and people that are on parole or probation. I treat them exactly the same way. What they did is, to me, not an issue. The key to...
Well, we've all done stuff that's wrong, haven't we?
Well,
no
sure.
one is pure and clean and perfect.
Of course, yes.
We've all made mistakes. So when we can do that without judging, and we can isn't that showing mercy and giving someone grace?
100%. You
Yes.
have to do that. You have to do that. The second area you focus on is You have to isolate the stressors in the person's life and how those stressors are affecting them emotionally. And you kind of, when you do your clinical interview and you go through the process, you try to look for the areas, the weak spots in the chain, so to speak, the weak links. And you see how the person is reacting to those stresses. Many times, many of the problems can be corrected if the person modifies their reaction to their environmental stimulus.
Wow.
How they react to pressure and stress affects their soul and affects them emotionally.
Wow.
And if you can fix that process, the person will improve quickly.
So how do you fix the process?
The way to do it is usually getting the person to understand that the situation or the problem appears more overwhelming than it actually is. The second way to overcome it is to get the person to understand that God understands their problem and is aware of it and wants to help them.
Yeah,
and He cares, well stated. He actually cares for them. Because when you're under a lot of pressure and your world kind of seems to be falling apart, that's easy to lose that thought or that concept. You kind of get blinded in a way, not seeing that behind the scenes, there's somebody that actually cares for you and He understands what you're going through. He understands your pain.
Right.
And as a counselor, I have to do that too. I must learn that from the Lord.
Right.
And I receive that from Him, and then I give that to the person.
Right. So, and then that's where that trust comes in, because they see you're not judging them or holding them to anything, that you're giving them like a clean slate. That, because I love that there's a movie that's called Anne of Avonlea, and it says that tomorrow is a new day with no mistakes in it. I love that. And we can start fresh every day, and what we do and the choices we make can bring us to another level. It's a brand new day.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Perfect. That's exactly the way God looks at these people. That's exactly the way I look at them. They can recover, they can get help. And He will help them, and I will do the best I can to help them.
And you have to build up their feeling about themselves. They probably feel so low and so worthless and so unworthy, don't they?
I see it constantly, and it's easy to understand that it happens. When you have family members that let you down, an employer that lets you down, maybe you're going through a divorce or separation, or you've got relatives that have said they would do things and didn't, and somebody was going to support you and didn't. It's easy to get that feeling where the hopelessness kind of naturally comes in, and the pain kind of becomes overwhelming at times. And when they come in for counseling, they get an opportunity to take a break from that scenario and kind of restructure what's really going on, you know, stepping back out of the fire, so to speak, so you can get a better picture of where you need to go and how you need to recover.
Wow.
That's one of the benefits of counseling. It gives you a break from the stress and gives you a chance to reorganize and regroup.
Wow. That's wonderful. And I can see how that would happen, because if someone's feeling really, really down and really full of fear and anxiety, and they come in and talk to you and they're pouring out their heart and probably crying or wanting to cry, if some of them can't, I can see how you can help them see, well, you know, this isn't, and sometimes people, don't they fear things that haven't even come yet?
That's correct. We mentioned that earlier when you were asking me about anxiety disorders. Counselors and psychologists call those phobias.
Phobias.
Unrealistic fears of situations, individuals, environment that is not real. It's embellished or exaggerated in the person's mind. And when you go through counseling, what you attempt to do is give the person an actual view, a real concept of what's actually happening, because the phobia is in a way a fabrication. For example, a fear of heights, a fear of the dark, a fear of flying, and so on. There's actually nothing to fear from that, but in the person's mind, that's a real fear for them, and it's as real as an actual fear.
Wow.
You know, if you were attacked by a polar bear, that would be perfectly normal to feel fear.
Right.
But another person who turns the lights out,
fear.
That's a true fear.
Yeah, if one's coming at you and you're like standing there.
That's a true fear.
But that's a true fear, yeah.
But to a person with a phobia, the fear of that is the same. It's just as real to them as you would be afraid of a polar bear, which would be perfectly natural.
Right.
The fear of the dark is just as real, only it's a fabricated fear, but it hurts just as much. So you have to treat it just as if it's a real fear.
Wow, that has been so good. My goodness. So there is help. What you just said to me is there is help. And through a counselor or through turning things over and letting God be that source in their life to help them, that will help take care of a lot of it, huh?
I see it happen all the time. I see
Yeah, that's gotta be
routinely see
so
people helped.
rewarding for you.
Very rewarding.
Yes, to see people's lives turn around and realize that, yeah, what am I worrying about? This is, it hasn't even happened. I always think, okay, I have a roof over my head today, food to eat today, gas in my car today that's running. So, we're blessed. And if we could live like the sparrows, like the word even tells us, and not worry, they don't worry about anything.
Correct.
And they don't toil, and their God takes care of them just like us. And if he cares about them, how much more does he care about us, huh?
Well worded.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. This has been very good. I appreciate it. I want to go to the information on the screen. House of Healing, 602-636-5800. WrestleNot@msn.com is his email, and his website is hardcorechristianity.com. So thank you so much. This has been great.
My privilege.
And really quick, we're going to run to a 30-second PSA. We'll be right back.
It threatens the lives of more than 15 million Americans.
Like heart disease. Its symptoms can be misleading.
Like diabetes, it's biologically based.
And like cancer, it can be fatal.
It is depression,
And like other life-threatening illnesses,
depression can be treated.
which means there's hope.
There's hope for everyone who has it. Learn more at depressionisreal.org.
Hello. Thank you for staying tuned. We are so happy that you are with us today. I'm here with Michael W. Smith, who's a Christian counselor with House of Healing, and we are now going to discuss marital discord. My goodness, there's a whole bunch of that out there, isn't there?
It's voluminous.
Wow.
It's huge.
Huge.
Yes. In my
It
counseling
shines
practice,
out.
I also do marriage counseling, as you know, and believe it or not, generally speaking, all marriages kind of have similar or the same problems. They're generally speaking, generically.
Mm-hmm.
And I deal with the...
Yeah, because it's getting along with people.
It's
And
getting-
that isn't easy in this day and age.
No, it isn't. It requires patience. Yes.
And dying to the self and not expecting anything in return.
Well, no, that is correct and easier said than done. Yeah, the major problems I run into are the normal ones in your typical marital situation. The number one problem or cause of divorce is money problems, disputes over money, Then the other problems in the top 5 are infidelity, a lack of trust in the other person, a disappointment in the spouse, trauma, family trauma. For example, marriages go under a lot of period of stress because of a sudden death in the family, a sudden strike of unemployment,
Illness.
a sickness, a traumatic illness. For example, here in America, the top 2 illnesses are heart disease and cancer. So you're looking at heart attacks, strokes.
And even young. I mean, we're talking about cancer even in young children.
Very common, very common now.
Yes.
Very common. So when you have those exceptional stressors coming into the family unit, if there's a pre-existing weakness there that may not even be noticed by the couple, you're going to see kind of a crack in the armor start once the trauma strikes the family. And so I run through those very common issues between husband and wife.
Wow. And it breaks up the family, doesn't it?
It can break up the family. The key to it there is, again, in my counseling practice, I have a heavy emphasis on spiritual development and spirituality. I have a heavy emphasis on unconditional love and acceptance of the individual without condemning or judging them. And the key to saving a marriage is those 2 things and catching it early. The longer you allow a bad marriage to fester, the greater percentage chance that they're going to get divorced and it's not going to survive. And the problem with the first marriage not surviving is second marriages and then a third marriage, the divorce rate accelerates.
And it goes up higher. Yikes.
That's correct. And in addition, if you are a cohabitator before you're married, your chances of being divorced also accelerate.
Yeah, because
you're living
used
together
to doing
first.
your own. Oh, yeah, before.
If you live together first, believe it or not, statistically, your marriage is more apt to get divorced than if you
Why
just.
do you think?
There are several different theories on that. No one's actually sure, but one theory is that I've seen in my counseling practice is that there's a kind of a common desensitization between the couple before they're married because they're already living together. And then when they get married, there's no special event occurring there because they've already been desensitized to their relationship. So the marriage event is more commonplace or normal than in another relationship where you're not living together and, hey, we're getting married. And the idea emotionally and mentally is, hey, we're starting a new life, we're married now. But if you're cohabitating, you're really not doing that. You've already been doing it. You're already used to this person emotionally, mentally, sexually, financially, and there's nothing new to start your marriage afterwards. Okay, that's one of the theories, and I've seen that in my counseling practice.
And it isn't always true. So hopefully, if somebody's watching and they did do that and get married, there's always hope in the Lord. And
Yeah, that's correct.
and we don't want you to get divorced. We want you to stay married.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
and
I'm
make it
speaking
work.
generally.
But yeah, the generalities
Just
of
generalities,
it all.
yes.
Wow. So, what do you think the number one discord is in marriage?
The number one problem statistically is
Finances?
Correct.
Okay,
That's
that's
the number one
And
problem.
infidelities too?
Yeah, infidelity
I thought
is
I'd be
too.
first.
Now, another thing has happened recently since the 1960s. Pornography is now on the list. And that never used to
But
be on the
isn't
list.
that part of infidelity?
It is infidelity, but it's emotional infidelity.
Which leads
Where
to
the-
infidelity usually.
Which can lead to
Yeah.
infidelity. That's correct. Pornography is a very dangerous hobby, so to speak, to have in a marriage. It's extremely dangerous, and usually, in my counseling practice, one spouse keeps it a secret from the other one because they know there's going to be trouble if the other one finds
Is
out.
it usually the male that has the problem? It could be both now.
It's usually the male.
But
However,
usually.
statistically, the
Nowadays.
fastest growing area of pornography, video sales and internet downloading, the fastest growth area is among women.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
women are beginning to become like men.
Oh.
Equality.
They like it. They go, well, if he can do it, I can do it, right?
There's equality among good things like employment and promotion, and there's equality among bad things now. Yeah, pornography is one of the major reasons people get divorced now. And it never used to be that way. In the 50s and 60s, it was unheard of.
Wow. Well, I think too, because of the internet. That's why. I mean, it's at a touch of a finger now, right?
The internet is, from my counseling practice, again, talking from a standpoint of a counselor, it's like a plague. There's so many good things on the internet in terms of information and access to data and so on. And the other portion of it is just about, in a way, kind of like a biblical plague. And pornography spreading among young people now is so rapid, it's remarkable. And it's very common for
Even with cell phones now, because it's like, you know, this little, you could be anywhere and
Correct.
get anything on it.
Exactly.
If you're connected to the internet.
That's exactly right. Another
Wow.
major problem with divorces now that we never used to have years ago is people have gambling addictions. With frequent access to gambling and casinos, we've got several here in Maricopa County, all around in the Indian reservations. It's a major problem
That's
with marriages.
finances, right? It just totally
Financial again.
drains them. My goodness.
Yep.
Well, I tell you, I'm very interested about pornography, though, because I know so many people that fight that, and there is hope for that. Can they get healed of that? Because that really is a serious source. Probably alcohol and drugs, too, is a problem, too. I know we didn't mention that. But,
It is a huge problem.
and not just with men and youth, but with women, too.
It's a huge problem among women. I see many people overcome pornography. Many people. And again, the key issue is understanding the problem and developing the spirituality of the person. If you can combine the counseling, the therapy, and the knowledge with the developing of the spiritual aspects of person, they can overcome pornography and other addictions.
Why do they get involved in pornography? Because it's something, and why is it so hard to get away from that?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah,
Now, why
we're going to
people
have to do another show just on that.
Yeah, that would have to be another 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah.
There's a wide range of reasons people get involved in pornography, but many times, other than just being something that feels good recreationally, many times there's a deep-seated insecurity in the person or a dissatisfaction with their spouse. In some way, the spouse is not meeting their needs sexually or emotionally or experientially. And so the person gravitates to a fantasy world in their mind in an attempt to satisfy that urge or kind of fill that gap. And that's where the problem starts.
Begins.
And then after that, it usually gets worse.
Yeah, and they'll find out that that doesn't work either.
Correct. That will not work either.
No.
But at the time they're doing it, or initially, there's
They
a
think.
sensing it's working. That's correct.
Wow, that is amazing, because I've seen that and heard so many complaints about that myself just from talking around. I can't believe our time is up. See how fast it goes? But I tell you, Michael, thank you so much for doing what you do and helping so many people. We really appreciate that, and I appreciate you, and I know our
Thanks for having me
public
on.
does. And we want to go to the information so people know how to get in touch with Michael. He's with the House of Healing, 602-636-5800. 5800. WrestleNot@msn.com is his email, and his website is hardcorechristianity.com. So that's it, and we thank you very, very much for being here, and we thank you, our viewing audience, for being part. We don't know what we would do without you if you didn't tune in to Joy in Our Town, and I hope you learned as much as I did today. We want you to go be blessed, have a wonderful day, go hug someone, tell them you love them, and we will definitely see you next time. Bye-bye.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.